This is AHA Business Radio, creating aha moments for business, by business, and about business, providing opportunities to discover information to help you run your business and guide your decision making. The more you know, the better decisions you make. AHA Business Radio is produced by Alan Hirsch Advisors. For more information, log on to ahabusinessradio.com. To join in tonight's conversation, call 410-481-1300. Now, here's your host for AHA Business Radio, Alan Hirsch.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's show. My guest in the studio tonight is Bert Sadtler. He is the president of Boxwood Strategies, and we're going to talk about various aspects of business compensation, employee compensation, and so forth. But before we start the conversation, Bert, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
I get up early, Alan. That means I went to bed early the night before, and I'm curious what's happened. I do business in multiple time zones, and what's happened overnight while I'm sleeping, I get emails back, I get business opportunities back. I'm interested in getting up in the morning and finding out how the day is going to start. Okay, so you do employment compensation and search and recruitment, but we're going to talk mostly tonight about compensation. So well, before I do that, how did you get started? And tell me a little bit about what you do, and so that the audience understands your expertise and what we're going to talk about this evening. I think I'm another reflection of this business world today, which is nimble, agile, and things are always changing. I entered the business world in my early 20s, driving revenue as a sales producer, had that role for a number of years. It ended. I found myself very much like lots of folks out there in transition. One thing led to another. I ended up entering the recruitment field because of my sales background, and it turned out to be a really good fit, and I eventually founded my own business because I thought there was a better way, because I thought there should be a change in the existing way recruiting and compensation exist today. So,
in helping you to find a better way, so what is the better? I like to follow up, but we want to talk about compensation. So what are some of the things you found that are better ways to deal with and talk about compensation? And before you answer that, let's talk, what do you consider compensation? And then we can talk about the better way of working that out.
Well, in the context of our conversation today and this evening, compensation in this discussion is the everyday fabric of the man and the woman going to work getting paid. It's not that balloon payment that you read about in the paper about some executive getting millions of dollars on a severance or millions of dollars in a package. Every single member of the workforce gets up in the morning and for one reason or another needs to go to work, and ideally gets paid in cash or in compliments or in some means for the work they do. That, to me, defines today's compensation.
So do you define compensation beyond just the paycheck? Or in other words, talking about some of the benefits, is that part of the compensation?
Yeah. So you look at the business world today and you look at the people that are in it, and there's, you can sort of divide it in two. Do you get up in the morning to want to make a difference? Do you get up in the morning to want to make money? Neither are 100% one or the other, but if you're 51% more about wanting to make the money or more wanting to make the difference, you are better serving yourself working for a company that's like-minded. Okay, so as far as getting paid, the money part is pretty clear to measure. Wanting to make a difference, the compensation form there can be in the form of being recognized, being reinforced that you are making a difference. A little harder to measure that, but backing up for a moment, getting into the cash part of compensation. Let's go there and talk about change, if I may.
Please.
A number of years ago, there was this notion that the higher the base salary we all got, the better we were. And maybe in those days that was an accurate statement. And I would argue today that someone receiving a high base salary is not necessarily in their best interest or in their employer's best interest. What happens? In this nimble, agile, and changing world that we're in today, things are not certain. And an organization determines that they've got to make some changes. What's the first thing they do? Cut the highest cost. What's the first thing that happens? The person who's come in with a big, high base salary is now exposed. And their employment has ended. They're now in the water. Never really having the opportunity to bring their employer value, and their employer has let them go. Well, is there a better way? Yeah, there's a much better way. A better way would have been have some contribution of a base salary plus some contribution of a performance-based bonus, measuring that individual on specific goals that they're able to accomplish and be rewarded for. In that setting, should there be a need to cut costs, they're not sitting with a gigantic expense to their employer. They're sitting with a base salary with the opportunity to earn more, assuming they're able to deliver value.
Okay. Before we continue the conversation, just want to remind everybody, I'm Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, and I'm talking to Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies. If you have any questions or comments, give us a call, 410-481-1300. The couple things you said in that and is that people either work to make a difference or to make money. And I would suggest that there are other issues that why people work. And I've seen studies, and I know probably you have too, that when you think about money and you evaluate what employees want, it can be as far down as 10 or 12 in the list of what makes employees happy. So I would suggest in the vast majority of people, having done this show and asked that question, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work, I've only had, I think, 2 guests in over 3 years that said to make money. One of them, I believe, has had 3 jobs in the last 3 years.
So if I am to clarify that statement a little bit more, let's start it by saying if we were to divide the world in half, and that's the only way it could go, one member of the population is going to be more focused on making money, and one member of the population is going to be more focused on making a difference. Men and women that serve this country did not generally do it to make $1 million. They did it to make a difference.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that those men and women have no regard for coin or money. It's that 51% of their focus or more is they want to go and feel as though their work matters. They make a difference. Those individuals that enjoy making money don't necessarily do it to scorch the earth with no care on the outcome.
Right. And I would suggest from what you've said that you do it to find better ways to do things, which in a sense, and one of the things I am is a why coach, and we've never talked about this, but each of us has a why we do what we do. And yours, if it is better, to find a better way to do things, you help by finding better ways. You're there to help people.
Yes.
And make a difference for them and the companies you work with.
My responsibility is to serve my client, the business who hires me to help their company become more efficient or help the people that work there become more focused. And so, yes, I am responsible for making that work better. Right,
and finding your clients better ways to compensate and find them better ways to do what they're doing around employment issues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's get back to defining compensation a little bit more. And so you've talked about it as the financial remuneration that a individual gets, and you think there's a better way than most businesses do it. And one of the things you talk about that I've seen you write about is this issue of alignment with compensation. Can you say a little bit about that, because we have to go break in about a minute or so. What alignment and compensation mean?
Most businesses out there are really pretty similar. You've got people, and you've got a responsibility, and you've got a focus, and you've got a direction. Why do you hire people? You hire them to deliver value, and you want to be optimizing the performance. So alignment you could use the example I like of a Roman warship, pretty amazing weapon with people rowing, with a ramming piece at the front of it, with sails, with an army on top, and with a captain and generals directing where it goes. The alignment is that example, that Roman warship, has got to all be going in the same direction, or it fails. It loses its focus. However, the people on it each have an individual role. The folks pulling the oars have little or nothing to do with what's going on with the sails. The Army has little to do with what's going on with the oars. The organizational part, the alignment, comes from the leader. And the captain in that case has got to be focused on what's going on with the oars, what's going on with the sails. If they're not, that ship is going to flounder. That ship is probably going to get beaten. That business, as an example, is probably going to get eaten up by their competitors and not be efficient and effective. Well,
let's continue that thought when we come back from the break. And when we do, I'll continue the discussion with Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies. And later in the show, I have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. Just want to remind the listeners out there, the City College class of 1967 will be holding, we will be holding our 50th class reunion on June 21st at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. As a member of that class, I will be there. For those who are in the class, please go to cityforever.org/reunions. I hope to see you at our reunion. I'm Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, and this is AHA Business Radio.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating AHA moments for business, by business, and about business. Once again, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Welcome back. I'm in the studio with Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies. We're talking about compensation, and before we left, we were talking about trying to align the employees together. And you talked about the concept of a Roman ship with the oars, and they have to funnel together. And I like to think about the captain who has to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and then how to achieve that. And I think we talked at the break a little bit about how really putting the right people in the right seat. Who is the commander of the military, the Marines that have to get off the ship? Who's the one that's making sure the oarsmen are timed up? And to me, that's all about the captain making sure everything's aligned together and taking it to real life. That's the business owner. They're the entrepreneur. They're the owner, and they have to make sure that everybody is aligned together with the same mission, the same goals. Otherwise, they're not going to succeed.
Otherwise, they're definitely not going to succeed, or their competitors are going to get ahead of them. I mean, why do you bring people into your organization? Simply because you're trying to solve a business issue or a business challenge. Back to your point of having the right people in the right seat. The business is continuing to grow and change. The business market's continuing to grow and change. So this notion of alignment is really back to optimizing your company's performance. And you alluded to my word of cascading. You start with that CEO. Look, nobody said being CEO is easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
And if people want to learn about it, there's the book out there, and I forget the author's name, but the E-Myth, talking about the struggles of entrepreneurship.
There is a plethora of books written, but at the end of the day, again, that role, running that business, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's not. But ultimately, that CEO has the responsibility of having the vision and direction of where the company and the business needs to go.
Absolutely.
Alignment would mean cascading those responsibilities down. I don't think that CEO has the responsibility of having everybody in the organization reporting directly to the CEO. That would be insanity. So you've got to have a manageable number of people, a handful or so, and those members then have the direction and the focus of that CEO. And in the example of the Roman warship, the manager of the oars people deals with where the oars folks need to go. And the manager of the sails and folks managing the wind go handle that. And the manager of the army handles that. And those individuals then need to cascade downward what the responsibilities that have been defined by the CEO.
And back upwards to the CEO to make sure that it's working. And the one thing that bothers me so often in businesses is when you talk about the silo of the rowers and the military, the army and you know the sail people, if they don't work together, if they are in silos and work independently, again, that's the challenge of the CEO to make sure that the various silos, the operating departments, are working together in a common cause, in a common strategic goal.
Now you're talking about alignment, but you're also talking about communication, but you're also talking about synergy and back to the right people in the right roles, and you're talking about culture. Again, which all make up what makes a company work really well or what makes a company not so good, and people end up leaving or that company ends up failing.
So in hiring these people for these various jobs, they're going to get paid. They're going to get compensation.
One would hope.
So what is not in your mind for those out there, whether they're the employees or the employers in the audience, what is not working in today's compensation?
Well, what I'd have to emphasize with that part of it is this whole notion of this is the way we've done it. This is the way it was yesterday. I mean, last time I checked, I didn't see a whole lot of dragons flying around, and I don't think there's many jobs for dragon slayers. At some point, that evaporated. It's another iteration of change, and in today's marketplace, I think change is the constant, and the response to change is being nimble and agile. So take another look, and don't be stuck in the old model. The old model, as I see it, and I see it more with the larger companies, is, okay, if our company does well, we'll pay you more. Well, think about that. You've got a large organization. How many people in that organization really impact the net profit? 1%, 2%? I mean, who decides we're going to have a new building? Who decides we're going to make an investment in this or that? Who decides how the EBITDA is really going to roll? Relatively few.
EBITDA, for those who don't know, is the earning before income taxes and assets or whatever. It's a accounting tool for valuation of a business.
So one of the failed approaches I see out there is this notion of if our company does well, we'll pay you, the employer. It's an easy approach, but I don't think it's very effective. Beyond that, so we've decided that our company is going to pay a bonus if the company does well. All right, when? Well, people worked hard in January and February and March and April. Bonus isn't going to get paid until the end of the year. And in some cases, the bonus doesn't get paid until March or April of the next year. Well, where's the gratification? I worked really hard. I'm not even going to get that bonus until a year later when I'm already starting on the new year. You almost have wasted the funds that are paying that person. They've lost it. The whole idea of a bonus is for it to be recognized and rewarding good performance. Based on what? So this notion of let's pay when the company does well, and then let's wait until the following year, I think that you're losing an awful lot of opportunity for great performance with your folks. And I think I'd almost go so far as to say you're promoting mediocrity.
Well, I'm a firm believer that if you're doing well and you pay people a salary, that's a fixed cost. And is like you're saying, and you've increased from a business point of view, your overhead, your fixed costs. And if things happen where you've got to cut, you can't cut. The salaries are fixed. People don't want pay cuts.
No.
But if you have, and this is where I do agree with you wholeheartedly, if you have reasonable compensation and you share based on performance of each individual, and whether it's annually or quarterly but some kind of a bonus process. If the business is doing well, everybody gets good bonus. If it isn't, they're sharing in the effects of the business not doing that well.
Yes.
And then the business owner has the flexibility to, in a downturn, whether it's caused by the business owner and the business itself, or like the Great Recession of 6 years ago, it allows a company to be nimble, reducing costs as they go through a recessionary period.
So we're clearly talking about hypothetical, and we're in a laboratory environment, not really in a business environment in this discussion. But let's go back to the Roman worship. In our Roman worship, down below, we've got the world's best rower. He is phenomenal. However, the ship's not doing so well. So this ship isn't necessarily achieving all of its war goals, but the rower is phenomenal. Should the rower suffer because the rest of the ship is doing poorly, or should the rower be rewarded because the rower is really good at what he's doing? Now, in the business world, if that rower is phenomenal and not being rewarded, guess what happens? He leaves. He's going to go work somewhere else. And you end up in a scenario where the folks who are awful or underperforming, well, they're dismissed, and you end up in a setting where the people who are phenomenal are not recognized and rewarded. They leave or are hired away. You end up with average.
And he also might be a great rower, but not a great supervisor or foreman of the rowers.
Yep.
And the other part is, if you're going to award them by promoting them, there's the Peter principle that comes in. So I would think sometimes where you're promoting someone to the level of where they're not competent and you can't move them back. So it's a two-edged sword there.
Yes. Agreed. My compensation example was less about the Peter principle.
I understand that, but sure. It's about rewarding.
Yep.
If you have a base salaries for those jobs, and it's the base, rather than increasing the base, sometimes you promote from within. That was
yes.
That's the other thought.
You promote from within. Not everybody rowing that boat wants to be a supervisor. Some love rowing. Some love being in that role of just what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And again, good managers, good leaders would recognize that and support that individual, while others would love the notion of climbing the corporate ladder. But as far as the compensation piece goes, just to finish that point of what needs to be improved or what would work better, recognizing that phenomenal rower for really moving the needle and rewarding that person, in my view, could be done based upon that individual's goals and objectives, based upon that individual's ability to deliver.
I understand, and we'll continue that thought when we come back from the commercial. And as we go to the commercial, we have the traffic update. And we'll come back. I will continue the conversation with Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies. I'm Alan Hirsch, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating aha moments for business, by business, and about business. Once again, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Welcome back to the show. I'm in the studio with Bert Sadtler, and we're talking about compensation. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call, 410-481-1300. There are a lot of you out there that work for businesses or running businesses. I'm sure you have questions about compensation, so please give us a call, 410-481-1300, if you do have any questions or comments. So one of the things that we've been talking about is this alignment. So why is that important to businesses?
I think alignment clearly is important to businesses. It gives them a huge competitive or non-competitive advantage. If you are aligned, you are optimizing the performance of your company. In my view, the group, the aggregate output of the employees ought to be greater than the individual output of each person added up.
So how does thinking about this compensation and working with individuals rather than with teams, and you can do compensation based on team success and on individual success. How does a business owner use this in order to improve their business?
Okay,
and you've used the word managed by objective, which is what I'm getting to.
Yes.
So how does management really use this tool?
So the classic managed by objective or MBO, it's not a new idea. It's all over business books. Let's talk about the trade-off. It isn't I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do anything. The two classic models out there for a business today are I'm going to put time into it, I'm going to invest time, it's going to take time, or I'm not going to put any time in up front and I'm going to have to deal with things later. You've got one choice or the other. So for example, the company that chooses to have a rather easygoing comp plan, the one that says if we do well, we'll pay a bonus and maybe we'll pay it in the spring of the next year, that's not particularly complicated. It's not particularly time consuming. What's the trade-off there? Well, when employees get disenchanted and leave, you tend as the employer to find out after they left. I have yet to ever meet a CEO who gets up in the morning and says, I can't wait to have surprises. I love surprises. Most CEOs I meet say, I hate surprises. I know they're going to happen all day, but I'd like to avoid them as much as possible. I fit the same category, running my own business. I'd like to avoid as many surprises as possible. So my notion here is, as a self-described disruptor of the traditional approach, let's look at this from a different perspective. If you put time in up front, you are less likely.
This traffic report is brought to you by ADT. Coming out of Annapolis, 50 is still jammed going west onto 97 up past 178. It looks like 97 is also bad going south past 178. Millersville, though, has cleared. Ritchie Highway is tight going south at Pasadena. Looks like coming out of D.C., 95 has some light traffic. Major delays on 295. That's at Laurel, especially at 32. Stop and go on the inner loop from Lipton Heights to Arbutus. The outer loop from Park Heights Avenue down to the Baltimore National Pike. 70 is cleared, so 795. Just some light traffic going north on the Harrisburg Expressway at Hunt Valley. There are minor delays on the inner loop from North Charles Street over to Bel Air Road. Moving down the tunnels, minor delays in the Harbor Tunnel as well, stretching back on 895 to Brooklyn. Major in the Fort McHenry Tunnel. Those go back to the south side of the Beltway. Protecting what matters most for over 140 years, ADT is more than a sign of your yard. It's 24/7 monitoring for your peace of mind. Visit ADT.com.
With your traffic, I'm Nathan Scott
on CBS Sports Radio 1300.
I read the Baltimore Business Journal, and so should you. The BBJ is the region's leading business-to-business news organization. If it relates to business, the BBJ has it. Learn who is growing,
and if the
what your
job
competition is doing, who the movers and shakers are, and how to reach them.
Accountant to do the financials by the 15th of the month
for breaking news
That's
throughout
a review
the day.
Monthly.
Sign up for daily newsletters.
Not quarterly.
Follow your favorite
so
reporters
each of those,
as they break news
those
via
jobs that
online
you're
stories
assigning
and
to an
Twitter.
individual
And read the
employee
paper each Friday
that can be
for
measurable,
a deep dive into the
so
stories that matter most.
Can evaluate
Is your
them
website up to the new
based on
Google
objective
standards?
criteria,
If it has been a while
which I
since
think
your
is what
website
you're
has been
leaning to,
updated, you could be missing out on
rather
valuable
than
traffic
subjective
because potential
material.
clients can't find you.
You can
At
usually
Adventure Web
review
Interactive, our web
based
designers
on
can update your site
when
by
they're
optimizing it for search engines
responsible
and
for
maximizing
achieving
user
something.
experience. Contact Adventure Web today at 410-788-7007 for a free website analysis, or visit us on the web at advp.com.
The Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce is your voice in the Baltimore business community. Our mission is to help our members create lasting partnerships throughout the city and the region by making resources, information, and networking opportunities available to our members. For more information on how to get involved in Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce or to register for one of our upcoming events, visit us at baltimorecitychamber.org. That's baltimorecitychamber.org.
Did you know that in 2015, there was over $1 billion in theft? Construction sites are being targeted for their copper and equipment. Personal injury claims for retailers are up 74%. Your employees spend 2/3 of their day shopping online and using social media. SOS Tech Group offers comprehensive surveillance solutions to battle this growing epidemic. Call 410-559-7020 or visit sostechgroup.com for more info.
Why are your potential customers buying from your competitors? And what are you doing about it? Whether you need to increase foot traffic or web traffic, you need a solid plan to reach new customers. New customers. That's what it's all about, right? At CK Westbury, we can develop and execute a plan designed to reach new customers and build loyalty with your current ones. We are CK Westbury Media and Marketing. 410-832-2426. That's 410-832-2426.
I'm Alan Hirsch, and I believe in making a difference in the lives of others. I help you understand your vision, both professional and personal, discover why you're in business, work with your visions to align them with your why, give you feedback on what is important, and hold you accountable for your decisions. All this so you can improve your life and improve the lives of the people around you. If that sounds like someone you want to work with, give me a call at 443-977-4500. That's 443-977-4500.
And I would say one of the things I use when I do a presentation on building a business and successfully doing it is to say that if the employees don't love the company, why should the customers? And if you're not taking care of your employees and they're not happy, they're not going to be taking care of the customers. It's the next step.
We're back to the psychological part. And think about it. As any member of your listening audience thinks about their role, I would suggest when you wake up in the morning and think about what you do, you really don't think primarily about the company you work for. You think about the person you report to. That's the first step. If that's going well, if you have a clear line of communication, you're probably going to have a pretty good day. If it's not, it's going to be a much harder day. So as an adjunct to having that kind of a relationship with the person you report to, do you know what you're expected to do? Has that manager of yours collaborated and committed for the important priorities that you, the employee, whether you're a vice president or you're at the very lowest level, it doesn't make any difference.
And that starts at the top.
That starts at the top.
By the CEO setting the culture.
Yep.
By doing that with his staff, the direct reports, and them doing it all the way down.
Yes.
But it's also, to me, it's also that CEO trying to get to know some of the employees on the bottom end so that they know he cares. It reminds me of the story of Sam Walton. When he started his business, and it grew to today, that's the largest retailer and probably does more retail business than the next 10 or 20 companies combined. But when he started, he would try to get to every store at least once a year.
Touch point.
Personal piece. And it was not to meet with the manager.
No.
He met with the employees. He wanted to know the employees, to let them know that he cared, and to know them so that they liked the business, just the comment I made, so that they would like the business, and they could, if they liked the business and they liked where they worked, they'd make sure the customers enjoyed it as well.
Now you're back to passion, and now you're back to the optimization of performance. Again, these are sensitive things, but they're all a component of we're a complicated creature.
Correct.
As a human being. The implementation, in my view, of a good comp plan, as we've been alluding to, has got to include, again, simplicity, direction, focus. That individual has got to have some direction and, again, some goals that can be measured. Did you or didn't you? For the benefit of the organization and for the purpose of optimizing that performance. Then there's got to be a reward. If you hit it, do you wait until the spring of the next year for gratification? Probably not a good idea because it's lost by then.
Well, and I'm going to, I need to go to the break, but my comment is, which is why I talked about before, if you have someone that supposed to do a job monthly or weekly, that's the time when they do it to thank them and not wait till I'm not a believer in these annual reviews. The reviews should be going on throughout the year as they achieve and accomplish the goals that are set.
That's right. That's your gratification. That's your feedback. That's also you, the manager, getting a read. Is your employee engaged?
Well, got to go to the last break, and when we come back, we will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest, the winner of which will get a gift certificate to the Capitol Grill. And I will continue my discussion with Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies. I'm Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM.
And now, with tonight's AHA Trivia question, here's your host, Alan Hirsch.
Well, tonight's trivia question, those here in the studio, they haven't guessed it yet, so they think it's very difficult. I hope someone out there will know the answer and give us a call. It's ugly, but it will get you there, was a 1969 advertising slogan for which car? Again, it's ugly, but it will get you there, was the 1969 advertising slogan for which car? Please give us a call, 410-481-1300. If you think you have the answer, and the caller with the correct answer will receive a gift certificate to the Capitol Grill, one of my favorite restaurants in Baltimore. I'm talking to Bert Sadtler of Boxwood Strategies, and we're talking about compensation. And when we went to the break, we were really talking about this whole overall strategy of compensation packages. So let's just continue. What is it that you believe is the better way for a company to structure that compensation package?
It is certainly not. It's ugly, and it'll get you there.
Okay,
that's the opposite direction, and I think there's a lot of that.
I think also it's got to be simple so people can understand it.
It's got to be simple, and look, if a business today has one of those models where we pay a bonus in March or April or May and it's working, keep doing it. I talk to an awful lot of people on a regular basis from a recruiting perspective, from a consulting perspective, people in the workforce. And it's just unnerving when I say to a man or a woman, do you understand your comp plan? And they say, no, I don't. And many of those become very interested in leaving their organization for a better opportunity. So to try to summarize what we've been talking about and a managed by objective and to simplify it, the approach I'd take is it takes time. You got to invest the time. If you want your business to do well, you got to put the time in. If you want to understand where your people are going, the most complicated part of your business, you got to spend time with them. The better leaders are able to communicate where the direction of their organization is going and reward the people that are able to deliver, not necessarily reward people who aren't delivering. We're not all equal. Some of us are able to do more things than others. I've rarely ever met a CEO who said, I won't reward someone who's over-delivering.
Let me just take, I've got Mark from Baltimore on the phone. Mark, you there?
Alan, how's it going?
How
you doing, Alan?
It sounds like you're in your car. So which car used the slogan, it's ugly, but it will get you there?
That would be VW, Volkswagen.
You're absolutely correct, the Volkswagen Beetle. And interesting enough, I don't know if you remember, I don't know how old you are, but it didn't use the car in the ad. It actually used the U.S. lunar landing module, which was from the first landing of the moon in 1969. And it substantially increased sales. Mark, any other comments or questions you have for what you're listening?
No, it's a good show. I appreciate you taking my call and all the information.
It's my pleasure. If you'll hold the line for Joe, my producer, he'll get your mailing address so we can send you out that gift certificate. Thanks for calling.
Thanks a lot.
So it was a Volkswagen Beetle, which was it, and most people called it an ugly car back then, so they played on that. So let's get back to this compensation package and the complete thing. And you know, it's about, to me, it goes, great leaders think outside the box. They compliment, they work with employees, they trust them to do the job, they help them learn. As all part of this plan, they help them learn when they make mistakes. They don't cut their pay when they make mistakes.
Business is full of mistakes. And if you're not making mistakes or getting a rejection in business, you're doing something wrong. But again, in having this analysis, this discussion on managed by objectives, I have no doubt there's members of your audience that are hearing those words, MBOs and managed by objectives, and being turned off. And as well as folks who have worked with them. It is not a perfect plan. There isn't one. We just talked about business and mistakes and errors. For a managed by objective to work, every piece of it needs to be executed. First of all, there's got to be this collaboration and commitment. The whole human nature, if you and I, Alan, were putting together a pen, however beautiful or ugly that pen would be, we'd have a commitment to use it. If I handed you the most beautiful pen in the world, and I said, no matter what happens next for the rest of your life, you're using this pen, you would, as a human being, have some pushback. So part of this managed by objective approach has got to be the employee has a significant contribution into what it is they regard as their role and opportunity, and their manager and leader has got to be collaborating, reaching a point where they're both committed to this plan. I would go so far as to call it a path for success. And again, if you and I build this pen together, we're going to have some commitment to using it. It's simple human nature. Well, once those goals are achieved, waiting for 13 or 14 months for there to be remuneration or acknowledgement or reward, the whole point is lost. So now we're at a point of threshold and structure and interaction. And for you as a manager to be reviewing with me, how are we doing with this? You're also going to be reading me. Am I engaged? Am I on point? Maybe there's something going on personally in my life, and I need to step back. Okay, that happens.
But a good manager will also understand, in my view, will also understand what is happening in the personal lives of employees.
A good manager does, and when there is the structure in place for that to be a normal, natural part of the discourse between manager and employee, then it becomes easy to read that person, avoiding surprise.
And that it starts at the top.
Yes.
And I think we both agree, if the CEO, the owner, treats the first level of management that reports to them in that kind of way, understanding, the wife is sick or whatever it is. And when I work with with the business owners I work with, the first thing I ask them when I meet with them is ask them to read the business on their business, their personal life, and their health.
In the digital world, first impressions are everything. If your site is slow or outdated, you could be missing out on valuable business. The team at Adventure Web Interactive is ready to help you bring your website up to date,
whether it's them or
so that you can reach new audiences and convert more leads.
Their wife's in the hospital or a child's sick.
Today at 410-788-7007 for a free website analysis, or visit them on the web at advp.com. Great athletes have coaches, social CEOs and business owners. Hi, this is Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors. Owning a business takes drive, desire, and a certain amount of luck. Well, I can't help you with the luck. I can help you make better decisions, giving you a competitive edge. If you own a business, I invite you to contact us. Our goal is to help you align your company vision and your personal lives so you'll make and execute better decisions. At Alan Hirsch Advisors, we create those aha moments. Log on to AlanHirschAdvisors.com for more information.
At Offutt Kerman, we do things differently. Clients choose us because we understand business, and we're innovative problem solvers. We are attorneys who help business owners excel in both their professional and personal lives, and in the most productive and cost-effective manner. That's what makes us the perfect legal partner for maximizing and protecting your business value and individual wealth. We are a full-service law firm. We are Offutt Kerman. How can we help you?
I read the Baltimore Business Journal, and so should you. The BBJ is the region's leading business-to-business news organization. If it relates to business, the BBJ has it. Learn who is growing, what your competition is doing, who the movers and shakers are, and how to reach them. Visit BaltimoreBusinessJournal.com for breaking news throughout the day. Sign up for daily newsletters. Follow your favorite reporters as they break news via online stories and Twitter. And read the paper each Friday for a deep dive into the stories that matter most.
So I've achieved my goals.
Maryland Nonprofits cordially invite you to join us as we commemorate 25 years of service to the nonprofit community. In honor of our silver anniversary, we're convening the members, supporters, and stakeholders who helped make our history possible for Celebration Luncheon.
Needs to be attainable.
emceed by WJZ's
I can tell a very brief
anchor,
story.
Marcus Washington. The party features a keynote address presented by John Brothers, president of T-Mobile Price Foundation.
Reaching his goals,
Entertainment will be provided by jazz pianist and vocalist Mark Meadows.
The new owners
this event will take place on Thursday, June 8th,
and made the goals for the entire. He was still as a salesperson for a different company. Make them.
Please register for this event at MarylandNonprofits.org.
He was the
that
first one to leave.
Is MarylandNonprofits.org.
And one of the top salesperson in the company.
Celebrating what
if
we
you
do
don't
best,
make them achievable,
serving our nonprofit
both sides are unhappy.
Both sides are unhappy.
Now back to AHA Business Radio, creating aha moments for business, by business, and about business. And now it's time for tonight's AHA Trivia Question, where you can win great prizes from the AHA Business Radio Show. Call 410-481-1300 if you know the answer.
We're out of time. So, Bert, I really want to thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
It's my pleasure to have you here. I've learned a number of things this evening. I hope the listeners have. How can any of the listeners reach you to get your help and advice?
My website is www.boxwoodsearch.com. Repeating that, boxwoodsearch, no spaces.com. On there are some articles that I write on a monthly basis and get published, as well as what it is Boxwood does.
Well, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank my producer, Joe. I also want to thank Larry Wilner from LW BizFlix for videotaping tonight's show. Please join me next Tuesday at 6 p.m. when my guest will be Donald Fry, who's the president and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee. I'm Alan Hirsch of Alan Hirsch Advisors, your host. To reach me, call 443-977-4500 or reach me on my website, AlanHirschAdvisors.com. This has been AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM.